Hey Ventuz developers, welcome to this new tutorial. This tutorial is basically focused on a project, and the project, we call it an interactive media player. In this project, we will learn how you can create a simple user interface with a couple of functionalities, like you can load movies into a specific folder, and then you can interact with these movies. Yeah, let's call it an interactive movie player. The aim here is also to show you how we would develop applications like that, that you can use it then later with OptiTUIO, with our touchless interactive solution basically. But of course, you're also able to use it with a normal touch screen or even just with the Windows mouse. Let's jump right in. Okay, what we will do in this course is basically we will build a kind of an interactive media player. And this media player, you basically can control with any touch screen, touch device. But what I actually want to do with this tutorial is to focus a bit on OptiTUIO, our lidar touch controller, and how you or we will develop applications exactly for that. So what we will do first, we will build a kind of a main player, right? And a carousel or a rondel. And with this player, basically, these are 60 by 9 rectangles, okay? And when we rotate it, then we have basically access to 10 movies, which we will load somewhere from a folder, right? So that you can use this template also for your own whatever demo or sample or even project. And there, of course, we will also build interactivity. Let's say for swipe left, the swipe right. When we make a swipe left, then that thing will go to the next page. If we make another swipe, we'll come to the next movie, and so on, right? And on the bottom, we will basically build a little user interface. Maybe not just on the bottom. So I think we will build a user interface around here. With maybe where we have a start page, just with a default logo of your company. And then we have a second button, which gives us then access to this movie player. So what I also should say, this is not a very beginner tutorial. So if you are very new to Ventuz and if you don't have any experience with Ventuz, I suggest to start with one of our quick start tutorials or the Ventuz beginner tutorial, which I also will link up here in the corner. Okay, so let's start with the empty scene. Let's close that up, and let's start with the empty scene. So let's start first with our easy with our main player, right? With our carousel. So we use a rectangle, and that rectangle has a size of 16 by 9, right? So of course we can maybe also later can adjust that, make some more adjustments, but for now we just say we are able to load 10 16 by 9 movies basically. So what I want to do now, so if I rotate this, I actually don't want that the rotation center is exactly in the center of this rectangle. I want to have it actually somewhere inside, yeah. So let me, like you saw before, right? So to do that, we have here our rotation center. And what we will do, we will bring our guy here a bit into front. So let's say minus 20, I think is a good one. And we will put the rotation center, or let's make it minus 10 first. And we push the rotation center the opposite way inside our from our rectangle, right? So if I do this and we rotate now, so you can see already we offset the rotation center already minus 10 to the center, right? So now I want to make it a bit more flexible. So I add here something like a main rotation axis, right? So I want to zero out this one, and let's make that a bit smaller. And let's say we try it with minus 30 because I want to have a bit of a larger radius, right? So, and if I go here now and I rotate over the Y, I think this is already better, right? So we can make that even larger, that radius. That's totally up to you. But I think for now we are going with 30. So we pushed basically the center inset 30 inside, and we took that 30 out. Yeah, that rectangle came 30 out, and the rotation center we pushed 30 inside. Okay, so let's zero that out. It's zeroed out already. What we do next, we basically simply copy that. So let's give that a name 01, and then we copy that, and then we have 02. And this guy now, so let's center this also. Let's zero out that 2. And that 01, we have to bring now 36 degrees, right? 36 degrees to the left, right? So, and now we have already 2 of that rectangles, right? So 1, 2, 3, and so on. So let's go on building here, because we know if we divide 360 by 10, then we know we will get obviously 36. So this one we have to 36 multiplied by 2. That's also super handy now in Ventuz, because you just can simply put mathematical formulas. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So just additions or multiplications. So then just double click, and here we have multiplied by 3, and so on, and this one multiplied by 4, and so on. I think you know what I'm doing here. And 5, 6. Of course, there are also other ways, maybe more procedural ways, but I think for this tutorial we just leave it like that. What is happening here now? 6, and here we did something wrong. No, that's good. It's wrong. 36 multiplied by 7. Let's check where we are. Let's rotate that main rotation axis a bit. Okay, here we go. And 9. And here we go. Come on. 7. This is 8. And the last one, this is our 10. This is 36 multiplied by 9. And now we should have a full circle, right? Yes, perfect. So now we have already our, let's call it our base of our main movie carousel, right? So next step, what we will do, we make that a bit smaller, something like that. And I think that's okay for now. So this rectangles, frankly speaking, I just used now to get this base set up, right? That we have that we have visual feedback where we will have our rectangles. What I will do now, I will delete that guy, the first one for now, and I will create something more nice, right? So I mean, of course, let's start again with a rectangle. It doesn't matter right now, so that was actually unnecessary that I delete that. Anyway, let's say I need something like let's put another axis that we have a little bit more, that we are a bit more flexible. This is our movie, right? And then let's also say I want to have maybe a kind of a little frame around, right? So what happens here, for sure, the movie needs for sure a texture later on, and this texture will load then here somewhere basically a movie. So let's adjust that already. So here we will go a movie clip. That's okay. Maybe for testing issues, just let's load up something. Just double click here, and let's see what we have inside here already. I think that's all good. Just let's simply use some movie here. Maybe let's use that one. Okay, now, and let's maybe also play that movie. No, it's playing already. That's all good. So here's now our first movie. For sure, what you remember, we maybe don't want to have the colors here or the light, right? But let's do that maybe later. Okay, next step, what I want to do, I want to give it a little bit more, right? I want to maybe kind of a frame, right? So with our normal rectangle, I'm not able to create a frame because there is no option to make it filled or non-filled or to give it a hole. But with our rounded rectangle, right? With our rounded rectangle, I'm able to do that. So also let's put here another axis in front, and of course we have to put it here under our movie. This is our frame, and what we are doing here, we also pushed it to 60 by 9, and in our rectangle we can say here now I want to have the subset not filled, and I give it a color, just a solid color for now. And that solid color, we do a little bit the dark gray or so. Yeah. Okay, and now we can adjust here a bit our size, because you can see here a little bit on our, let's go a bit closer. You can see here now in the corners, right? Yeah, because it's rounded, I want to make that actually a bit larger, something like that, and also a little bit in the height, and maybe like this exactly. So here you also saw maybe right now that little render errors. That's because I think maybe you know already. That's because um, this rounded rectangle and this rectangle is exactly at the same set position, like yeah, yeah, both at the exactly same set position, right? So if I rotate this now, you can see we have no issue. Let's see what happens if we rotate only this guy. That's also okay. And if you rotate it like that, that's fine, I think. So for now, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's zero that out again on our main rotation axis. Okay, now we have our first base container, which allows us to load a movie actually manually for now. What I do right now, I will put another axis and just let's call that movie loading or movie rectangle. Rect. Just movie rect. And what I will do here now, I will basically right click and merge it into a container, because I don't want to develop this manually for all of my 10 rectangles, right? I just want to build basically one template. And in Ventuz, you are building templates. Let's call it a template for now with interface containers. So I made this into a container with right click and then just merge the container. And now you can see this is a container. We can go inside this container if we double click on this arrow, and we can go out if we double click here. So again, we can go inside, double click here, and we can go back outside here, right? So if we are inside, you see we have exactly the same what we built before, right? So it's just packed now in a folder, or let's call it in a container, right? So what I will do now, and I will explain very soon for what, let's turn on here that interfacing. That's very important, okay? So what I actually want to do, let's delete all these other rectangles for now, because we have the position already, right? Because that position is fixed here in each of that axis, right? Just that offset basically of our Y rotation. So what I want to do now, I simply want to copy and paste that guys down here, right? Now you can see already, now we have 3, 1, 2, 3. And of course, if I copy more, to copy that, just select it with the left mouse button, press and hold Control, then press and hold left mouse button and just drag it down, right? So now I have basically, I make 10 copies of my movie rectangle interface container. And that it is an interface container, you can see on that little openings here on the top and on the bottom, right? So if I turn that off, I don't do it now, then you won't have these openings. So now let's say we have now our 10 movies, but of course this logic is not enough. We need much more functionality here, right? Because later on we will build logic around that we just want that the movie which is in front is running, and all the other ones should be paused, for example, right? So let's start and do that again. Let's go into our first container here. And in our first container, for sure, I want to be able to have access from outside to our movie, right? So I right click here, I'm in the texture property, I already assigned a movie clip. And here I simply expose my file value, okay? Because this is something I want to have outside. Yeah, so let me select it. And now let's go outside again. And now we can see, now we have access to this property basically, right? To the movie file. So if I go here now and I want to load whatever, another movie, let's load up this one, then you see we loaded directly another movie. So now we just changed that in our first container. If we go to the second, third, and fourth, we don't have this value, right? So of course I could go inside now and expose that manually. But this is exactly why we basically created that interface container, because I don't want to do that manual. I just want to change one container, and then I want to update all the other containers. To update that, I simply select that first container, press and hold Control, press and hold left mouse button, and then hover over the container you want to update until it gets orange, like this, not like this, not like this, not like this. It should be exactly like that. Then release. And if you go here, then you can see immediately we updated this second container too. Now let's do that with all the other 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 0. Okay, as you saw, we had now a pretty heavy issue because I loaded here, I think that's all 4K movies, and I loaded 10 4K movies. They all played at the same time. So that was a little bit, yeah, CPU heavy for my computer. That's why, yeah, I quickly had to recover. And exactly what I basically did, I just yeah, load now one of that movie, and I just deleted, or not deleted, I simply just pressed here that little button that no, not 10 4K movies are loaded, yeah, because recording here with OBS, running Ventuz, loading 10 4K movies, that's also a bit heavy for some computers. Okay, let's go on. So we exposed everything here, right? And what we will do now, also let me quickly delete this, or not delete, just take it out. And maybe we load a little bit a smaller movie. Let me see. Just in the first one, what do we have here? Okay, I'm not sure actually. Maybe this one. Asian Mountains. That's what we have here. Let's quickly check what we have here. If we go into our movie player, right, and we select here our movie in the output, and we select it here, then we can see here what we have, right? So we have here basically now a full HD movie. That looks better. Let's anyway quickly try the other one. What was that? What was it here? This one. Yeah, and here you can see this one is a 4K movie, 3840 by 2160, right? Of course, and loading 10 of them, this is pretty heavy. So again, we load another one here, and we will load that. Let's see what else we have. Maybe here, Dancing Girl. What is this? This is full HD. Why not? This is okay. So let's go on. Okay. So next, what we will do is basically we will we will expose any value what we need later on to build our logic for that player. Okay, so let's think a bit in the future. What would we probably need? So later on, we want to be able to say always only the first movie should play, right? That means if the movie is here in the front, if it comes from left to right or from right to left into the front here, then I want to get an event, or I want to trigger an event to play it. And if it's not here in the front, then it has to pause. Okay, so or even reset. So let's do that. Let's see what we have here. We have here our movie loader. And here, if you open up here everything, right click. If it's closed here, just simply right click here, and then you have access to all your movie controls, movie player controls, right? So what we want here, I want to have the play, I want to have the pause, and I also want to have the restart. What I also want to have with this seek, for example, right? With this seek, you can say, let's say we press here play now. Yeah, restart. Restart will bring it basically, will bring it to the beginning and restart it. Okay, so but let's say I want to stop it somewhere, you know, because sometimes the user don't want to finish the movie, and so that's something what we have to consider as well. So here for that we have that after seek. What should we do after seek? After seek, I want to say preserve, and the preserve basically means jump back to whatever time I set here. So to the beginning in that case, jump back to the beginning. Is that right what I say? And then just play. Okay. So again, reserve, or maybe even let's use that with pause, right? So let's say jump back to the beginning and pause. And when once it starts again, once it comes to the front again, then I want to trigger that play. Okay. So I think this is basically all we need. We basically only need the pause, and maybe we need that play. I think that's okay for now. So unselect this one. You can unexpose this this little boxes here. You can expose it with left click and right click if you want to disable it basically. And with the containers, there's also something, as you can see, if you want to expose it now again, yeah, then you can see we have here already something. This menu, I will try to explain you that. So let's go back one level, up one level. And now you can see before we already exposed that pause and restart, but then I deselected it, right? But the interface container is a kind of clever, and he keeps all the exposed values. Doesn't matter if you unexpose it later or not. That means this is pretty handy, because that means with this one, you can build outside logic. You can bind events to here, outside here, in the upper level, basically. And then you can go inside and you can unexpose it and can build a completely new logic. Yeah, but the outside will still be bound. Okay, so you won't lose that bindings outside. This is really a super handy and time-saving thing with that interface containers. Okay, so of course you also can you can see here also now with the color. I'm not sure if you can see it on your screen, but basically display is now much more, it's a bit more white than this one. Yeah, so they are kind of grayed out. Yeah, it's not very a big difference, but it's really like that. But if you are sure, hey, there's nothing inside, and you, like now we don't build a lot of, we didn't build any logic too much inside, and if you have that and you want to get rid of it, just simply go click here down, clean up, and then all the exposed values which are not binded inside will be deleted on this container. Okay, so now we have a clean container. We only have that play outside. That's okay, but that's not working now because it's at the end already. So we have to do another thing. We have to go inside again, and we set up here pause and seek, right? And let's bring that out. Let's expose that, and now let's see what's happened. So we are now at the beginning, and now we should be able to press play, and the movie starts to play. Perfect. And if we are going out, we can press seek, and then it's okay. So maybe one more thing, because I don't like that jump from you know, from just, you know, frame from one frame to another directly to yeah, basically to the beginning. This is not nice, right? So we have here the play, and let's say then somebody swipe to the next one, and then you have this hard cut inside. This is something what I don't like. So to make that maybe a bit more flexible, we still expose here our pause, and this pause will basically pause directly at a position wherever I press that pause event. Okay, so I want to have this. Let's think, what else could we probably use here? Maybe we also want to have something like maybe something like a value to fade it out, right? So that fade out we probably can use here from our movie loader, but let's make it a little bit more clear. So I will put another node, and let's call this node just the alpha node. So our alpha, which gives us then transparency, and with this node you have here that alpha value. If I bring that down, right, then we basically make that rectangle invisible, right? So 0 is totally transparent and 100% is non-transparent. So let's also keep that a bit inside for now. Okay, just let's call that alpha. Okay, now let's see what we have. Exactly, so we have to play, we have to pause, we have to seek. I think that's all good for now. Okay, so I think for now we are pretty much ready. We have all the controls we need in our first container. So now simply, you remember, we simply copy and paste that guy over. And one thing I will do again. No, that's good already. So just simply connect it. So one thing what you also can see now, right? You remember at the beginning when we just had that one value exposed and nothing here, and then I copied it, and then I interfaced it. I copied or interfaced it all over this. At that time, Ventuz also took the path, right? And this is because it was a new value. It was a very new exposing, but now we have already this file exposing. And you can see it as everything what is exposed already has his own, can keep his own value independently from what the first one has, right? So let's see again, exactly. So our first one has this movie file loaded, but our second one we had that file exposing already, and before I deleted it, right, or I resetted it to an empty path basically. And this is exactly why we don't have now, why we don't have basically, that's interfacing, right? So I try to make that a little bit more clear during this tutorial. Okay, so let's see where we are. They are updated up to our container 4. So from here we go on and copy this and copy this, copy this, copy this, and copy this. And now all of our containers should have exactly the same values here, right? Okay, that looks all good. Okay, so next, what I want to do, I basically want to build the logic that we can swap from left to right. Okay, so how we probably do that is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, or left and right, it doesn't matter. So we have a couple of different options here. We can do that with the animation, but we also can do it without animation, basically with some counters and expressions and little delays or ease in, ease out nodes. I think we try it first with, I think we do it with animation. I think the animation is a bit more easy, and I don't want to give you too much headache for now. Okay, let's go to the content editor and let's use animation, a keyframe animation here. And the only value we have to animate on our main rotation axis is basically our rotation Y, right? Because we just want to, move in 36 degree steps to our next or previous rectangle or movie, right? So I simply drag and drop this value to our keyframe animation, and I open up already down here our animation view. I can do that again. And let's bring it a bit down. And down here, we have now our rotation Y value, which we want to basically animate. Okay, in that animation view, with the middle mouse button, you can move this animation. With the mouse wheel, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. And what I want to do, I basically want to create a keyframe every 10 steps. So these are absolute values right now. If you want to work with time, then you simply click down here and then you can switch that here to frames or to second. Let's use that second. That's okay. So I think to make a transition from one movie to another one in 1 second, that's pretty okay. So now you can see we have 1 second here, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So let's create a keyframe at our position 0, because this is exactly our position 0. You can create a keyframe if you press this button here, or simply press the insert key on the keyboard. So at our time 0, we want to be at rotation 0, because this should be our first movie. Then we move here to 1 second. I press insert to create a keyframe, and here I want to be at 36 degree. And then I move forward up to 10 seconds, create a keyframe here, and here we have 72, and so on. So let's do that quickly. It looks good already. Okay, so let's finish this up. Second 8, we are at 288, and second 9, we are at 324, always plus 36, right? And at second 10, we are actually at 360, right? So what you can see now, if we bring that bar with left mouse button to the left and we press spacebar, so you can see now already that this animation is running basically exactly like expected. So Ventuz already has some nice ease in, ease out functionality. You can see this ease in and ease out functionality if you switch here to our view diagram. And because here you can see in X and Y how the animation is working. So if you press and hold, if you press and hold Control, yeah, and you move your mouse wheel, then you can scale this this view basically over the x-axis, and if you press and hold the Alt key and you scroll your mouse wheel, then you basically can zoom in and zoom out. Yeah, and here you can see now already we have that slight ease in and ease out, right? And that's exactly what we basically want. So let's go back to our keyframe animation. So next step, what we have to do, we have to create our states, right? Because only with the keyframes we have not really control about the animation. Sure, we just simply can play it here over this animation node, but of course we want to have fully control about all this, about each state, right? And a state for us here is, this is a state, here I want to have a state, here I want to have a state, here I want to have a state. So basically every keyframe we created here should be a state, because at this keyframe, that means we always have a different picture in front, right? Okay, so we simply create a keyframe. If you press this button over here, right, create a state mark. In this case, we don't want to use a new state, or we want to use a new state, but not that normal state or hard state, because I will explain you very soon. Okay, so what we will do here, what we have to do here, we have to use that soft state, because we want to create a loop, right? And to do that, we basically know now our 0 position is exactly the same like our 360 position, right? And this is something you can solve with a soft state, okay? Because a soft state basically can have at 2 points, yeah, how to explain that? A soft state you can use on multiple times in your timeline, and he can hold different values. Yeah, so I think this is the right way how to explain it. So here we create now our first soft state, S1, and you also see you can use shortcuts, Shift S. So let me do that now. Shift S, Shift S, Shift S. So, and here you can see now, before we create now our, basically our state 11, because we know, hey, this is, this state is exactly the same state like our state 1, right? So why not simply use this state 1 also over here? Because like I said before, a soft state can hold different values at different times, right? So that means here S1 has a value of 0, and here our S1 should have a value of 360, but at the same time or as 0. So, and the good thing here is it's a rotation. So 360 and 0 is basically exactly the same, right? So because it's the same position, because it's a full circle, 0 is a full circle and 360 is a full circle, or let's say 0 is no circle and 360 is a full circle. But I think with a rotation like we do here, I think you get the idea, right? So how to do that? We simply we have access to all the created states via this menu as well. As you can see right here, we have now access to all that values, and here we simply move our timeline to our basically last position, and then we select here our state 1, right? So, and as you can see, if I move that here now, you can see this is now exactly the same. Okay, to check that this is working, we have to understand another quick thing. We created here in our keyframes, in our keyframe view, right? Or in our diagram view, or view time, how they call it here. And we also create our states. If we switch now to our logic view, then you can see we have here now all the same states like we created before in our keyframe animation, basically, right? This is just a logic view of exactly this keyframe animation, right? So what that means, in that logic, that means we are now at state 1. If you double click a state, then Ventuz will jump directly to that state, right? So let's start at state 1. And now you can see here these bindings. That little green binding is basically a method, a default method created by Ventuz. And this is exactly this method. So we are now at state 1. If I press, or if I trigger this method, then we will go to S2, right? So if I trigger now again that next method, then we will go from state 2 to state 3, and so on and so on. If I press my orange previous method, yeah, then we will always go the other way around. Okay, so this is basically what you can see here with these transitions. Okay, so again, I'm at state 1, and if I trigger, let's make that a bit bigger. So if I trigger now, can I make this bigger too? Not sure. Okay, doesn't matter. So if I press now my next, yeah, then we go to state 2, 3, 4, 5. If I press previous, then we will always go one back. And now let's see what happens if we are here. Then you can see we have a very nice even loop, right? So let's try it the other way around. So we are at state 1, 2, 3. Now we go to state 4, to state 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now state 11 is basically, we don't have it because it's also state 1, right? So, and this is exactly why we have to use soft states here, right? To get this infinite loop. And now I have already a very major logic here, a very important logic to control basically our carousel later on, right? Okay, so the next thing what we will do now, we will just simply create a small menu here, a bottom line menu, or however we call it, with 2 buttons. And these 2 buttons is just the previous and the next. You know, we can click that buttons to go to the next movie or to go to the previous movie. So let's do that. So let's bring that guys here a little bit. Let's collapse them, right click. That's now our main rotation axis, and let's call that, is this the right name? No. Let's put another group node in front. The group node has actually nothing to do. It's just one function to group things together, and to make a better overview, to make some give that guys some names, that tree, subtree, some names, right? So this is our movie rumble. Let's call it like that. Why not? And let's collapse it with right click, so we have a little bit more space here. Okay, to do that, we go back to our logic view. Then I have a little bit more of my render view. And now I don't need to work for now I don't need to work in our animations, right? So let's create another axis. No, let's start with a group, and let's call that group bottom menu. And here we create our axis, and here we create now a rectangle, and here we say now, okay, you are, it's in the center, it's all in the full width of our 60:9 screen, and we bring it a bit more down here, just that we know, okay, here is our menu. And let's use maybe a color node just to give it a bit of a different color. Let's make it a bit darker, maybe grayish, and I also give it a bit of transparency, maybe 50%. That's okay, because maybe later on we want to add some backdrops, you know, and then the backdrop also can shine through that menu. Okay, so this is our bottom menu. This is our BG bottom menu. That's all for now. And the next thing what we will build is simply a button. So we use axis. Let's use a rounded rectangle and bring that already a bit down, because it's always in the center. 0, 0, 0 is here now behind our, or in the center of our rondel, right? So, and this guy we call button. And we will do the same workflow like we did before with this. We will build one button and give him all the functionality, put it in a container, and then we basically copy it, and then we have the second button. Let's make that button a bit bigger, maybe just like that, and let's give it a bit more of that rounded size. Okay. What else do we need? We need something like maybe a text. Let's put that text on top, and this text we use just a simple text node, and we use here a text2D, and that block text, that's okay. You can see it now here. Now I also give this text a different color. I just simply use a solid color, and of course I want to have a different color than my button, so we make this white. Now let's bring it to the center, because by default our text, our block text here is by default, I think, left aligned. So bring the text alignment to center and bring our line alignment from near to center. And now we are pretty much there where we want to be. And let's change this name to next. And yes, or maybe we make it even more simple. Just let's say, come on, let's use, where is it? Here we go. Just let's use this one. And then we make this guy a bit bigger. And we know if we click that, I want to go to this direction. If I click here, I want to go to the left direction, something like that. That's totally up to us. Okay, so now we have this. Now we also need functionality for our button, right? So to get interactive functionality, we have here in our toolbox, we have here our interaction buttons. And here we don't want to move anything. So we simply want to check, hey, if the mouse or touch point or TUIO events happening, if some interactivity is happening over my button. So I simply use that simple touch button or that touch button, and I put it here in front of everything I want to basically that this button is reacting to, right? So in that case, I put it here because I want that this interactive touch button is reacting to my rectangle, my rounded rectangle, and I also want that it's reacting to text. So let's select this thing, touch button, and then you can see here on the outputs from our touch button what happens if I hover over with my mouse, right? So we have here a couple of booleans, and we also have a couple of events. If I hover over, then we get a boolean touch inside, which is true until I'm outside of that again, right? And then we have also boolean touch pressed. So if I'm inside my geometry, so everything which is behind this touch button is basically reacting now or captured by this touch button. If I'm inside and if I click my left mouse button, then I get here touch pressed. And yeah, and we also get a couple of events. If I simply, if the touch enters, right? So if my mouse hovers inside this interactive area and over this geometry, then I get the event touch enter. I get a touch leave, and if I press my left mouse button, then I get also that single tap. So this is something important to keep in mind now. If you're working with a mouse, of course, then you simply get that single tap. If you work with a touch screen, sometimes you know, every touch screen is a bit different depending if you're using an infrared touch frame or a capacitive or yeah, even other interactive devices, like I said, like OptiTUIO. And OptiTUIO in this case, for OptiTUIO, I don't want to use that single tap, right? Because with OptiTUIO, with a sensor, it's not a mouse, and you won't get a kind of a left mouse click, or you don't have the left mouse button, the right mouse button on these interactive devices. So you simply basically, with TUIO, you simply get X and Y positions, right? And for this reason, it's very easy actually to simply use the touch enter. Yeah? You can use that touch inside boolean, or you can also use that event touch enter. That's totally up to you. So for now, because I also want to be able to yeah, basically control it with the mouse, I will simply use this touch enter, right? Because we know already our animation we built before, we have that methods, right? And that methods you basically can trigger with events. So this guys with that orange flash in Ventuz, we call it events. And that methods, let me go quickly back here to our animation. So this guys here in the inputs, right? In the inputs you always have methods, and in the outputs you have events. So that means the event can trigger a method. Okay, so this is really something you will understand pretty soon, or maybe you do already. So, and that's why we will use that event and not the boolean. Okay, so let's do that. Let's collapse that too, and let's go back here to our single tab. And before I do that, because you know, I want to have, maybe later on I want to reuse this button, right? So first thing I do now, before we go on, I will go to our button menu. This is our background. Okay, this is this guy, and this is our button, right? So I will put basically this button into a container. Okay, so right click and say merge to container. Now we have here our button, right? This is perfect. And if I put another axis in front now, then I can move that button wherever I want, right? I can copy that button simply, and I can have then 2 buttons. Okay, but before we do that, let's finish up our first button. As you remember, let's zero that out. As you remember, we want to create interface containers, and I think it's not wrong if I tell you try to use interface containers as much as possible. Basically, you always can use interface containers, especially if you understand how they work, because it's better to have an interface container if you from the beginning. Then if you have then after you know, maybe you have already a large complex container logic inside, and you copy that already, and you didn't open or you didn't activate the interfacing, this will take you much more time to redo it, right? So from my or our experience, I have to say it's really not a bad idea. Always just, you know, when you work with containers, just turn this interfacing on. Okay, so we have that now. So what we need here more on functionality. You remember we said before, when we built here one of our movie players, basically, we exposed the file we want to use, the movie we want to play, start, play, pause, restart, and stuff like that. And exactly the same we want to do here with our button tool, right? So let's go into our button and let's say what we want to change. Or what do we want to have outside? Not only we want to change something, sometimes we also want to have something outside, and in that case we want to have outside our touch enter, right? So this event I want to have outside my container. So if I go outside, now we have here our touch enter. If I hover over, then we get event here. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. What I probably also want, I want to be able to change the text, right? So remember this bracket here, or this larger than sign, this is basically a text. So let's go inside and also let's expose here our text, right? So this is basically this guy, and I think for now I'm pretty happy with that. So now let's see what we have. We have this one, this is working, this is okay, perfect, and we can change our text. I think, of course, interfacing is turned on too, so I think now is the time that we can move or copy our button, right? So this one is our right button. Let's move that a bit to the right and let's push that 5. Now we copy that, simply select it, make sure that everything is selected, and press and hold Control and left mouse button, hold left mouse button, bring it down, and now you created a copy. And this guy we push now to -5. I think that makes sense. So we are nice and even, and everything is good. The only thing we have to do now, if we select our second button, that's our left button, right? We also get our touch enter here. Only thing we have to change here, we have to change this sign to less than, right? And now we have the left button and the right button. One thing what I also like, what I think is very important in the interactive development, you want to get some visual feedback, right? Or even audio visual feedback. That means if somebody touched that button now, nobody know what's really happening, right? So of course, if we connect it later on everything, then that the rondel will go, it will move, the animation will run to the next movie and stuff like that, or to the previous. But I also want to make it more nice, so let's also focus a bit on that now. So I want to have an effect, a visual effect, if I hover over this button. Okay, so let's go inside our first container and let's see what we can do. So for example, I like to do things like this, you know, just with the scaling factor here on our first axis here. I just want to give that little effect if like somebody is pressing the button, right? So to do that, we simply use a mover. Just simply use that mover here, and let's bind that mover first, because then we also can see what's happening. So by default, you can see this mover is now scaling from -1 to 1. We don't want that large scaling. So our minimum scaling, I think, should be maybe 1. And our maximum scaling should be maybe something like 0.9. Let's try that. I think this is a nice little effect. And I also want to change the time. I don't want to have this happen in 1 second. I just want to have this happen in a quarter of a second, right? Okay, this is good already. And now I also don't want that this is running in an infinite loop. So I have to set up my mover. And I can do that here under the mode. And I just say my mover, hey, just 1 shot. And that shot I want to be triggered from my touch button, right? Then I want that exactly this effect is happening. I think maybe we can even make it more quick, 0.15, right? And now we have that little, very decent, small click touch effect. So last thing what we have to do, we have to trigger our nudge here, and that nudge we simply trigger here from our interactive node, which we have already here. So if you want to access all of them in the content, what you have to, then you simply select them in the hierarchy. If you hold and press Shift, select whatever node you want to have inside, and then they automatically appear in our content editor. So now I have here my touch button and I have my mover. What I want to do, I want to use the touch enter event, and that touch enter event should trigger my nudge here of the mover. To do that, I simply select my mover and drag and drop that nudge over my single tap. And then I get a context menu or options. And I know I don't want to use single tap. I don't want to use tap and hold. I want to use touch enter. And let's see now if this is happening. And this is happening, right? So if I go inside, if I hover over, then I get that little nice effect. So last but not least, we simply, because it's an interface container, we press and hold Control and we interface it to our second button. And now we have this effect on both of our buttons. That's okay. I'm happy with that for now. So last thing or next thing we have to do. So we have to bind this now. We have to bind this event to our animation, right? We have to connect both of our buttons with our animation. So let's call that button right, button R, and this one button P for previous, or let's call it ref. And this one we call button next. Okay, so we go right way next and left way previous. So to do that, we simply need our animation here. So we select the node which is bound to our animation. This is here our main rotation axis. We have our animation here, and we select with during pressing Shift and Hold, and we select button next and button previous. So they appear here. Let's bring that here. And now let's simply connect our next to our button next and our previous to our button previous, and let's see what's happening. That's exactly what I want. Now we go back. Now we go back. We go back. And we go to the right side. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to have. You can see here we have a bit of a little issue, right? If we make that quicker. And this will be something what we will fix soon. Okay, let's fix this issue with these buttons. You know, somebody's clicking one time, and he also can click many times to jump basically to the next step in our animation, right? So let's see how we can do that. Let's think a little bit. Let's check our animation here first. Let's go to the animation view and let's see if we have some options here. Actually, we don't. But what we basically do to make it simple, also that you understand, what I'm basically trying to do is every time this button, the animation is running, okay? So between here and here, I want to have these buttons disabled, right? Maybe not disabled, but at least the touch disabled, right? So I want to have the interaction, the interactive part of this button disabled. So we can do that. Let's see. Let's look into our button here first, into our button next, and let's see what we can do. So this is our next button, right? Let's open up here our few inputs and outputs that we are sure we are in the right place. Okay, this is working. And what we have here, we have basically a control enabled. If we disable this, then nothing will happen, okay? So what we have to do, basically, we simply have to control this enabled value from basically both of our buttons with our animation, right? So this enabled is a Boolean. And let's try to do that. We start to do that to build a base here in our animation. And we do that simply by creating a Boolean variable. We just put it here and we call it bool touch active, right? Okay, and we simply bind this Boolean variable to our animation. And now we are going back here to our animation. And now you can see we have now access to our Boolean touch active value. Okay, so let's zoom here a bit in. So first thing what I want to do, when I'm here at that keyframe, then I want our touch active. That means I create a keyframe here, I press insert, I want to have my touch active. If I'm here or here in between, I want to have it deactivated. Now you can see we switched before to basically 2 seconds. I think that's okay, but right now I want to bring it a little bit closer here to our S1 state, because you can see here something happened already. I think it will even work like this, but just let's make it professional. So I go back here to my absolute value. Okay, and now I create another keyframe, and here I say here you are deactivated until here, and from here on you are activated again, right? So now you can see if we are here at that state, activated, deactivated, deactivated until we are here, and then it's activated again. And we do exactly the same here all over the place. From here we are deactivated, and then from here we are still deactivated up to here, and here we are activated again, and here we are deactivated again, and so on. I hope you get the point. Active and deactive. Active. Active. So you also can see here this basically this, yeah, this color here that gives you the basically the Boolean value true or false of the previous keyframe, right? So that means here now the previous keyframe, we know this keyframe is true, and that light gray means it's false, right? So I think we even don't need this, but I actually like to make it to have a bit of more control and to avoid yeah, mistakes or bugs, right? So here we go, and here we go. Here one more, and this is active and this is deactivated. So we've done it soon. Come here, and let's come here, and let's come here, here, and this one. We are getting there. Be patient. Okay, and active, and oh, sorry, to make it, to make the keyframe. And again, I make that keyframe with the insert key on my keyboard. That's very handy. And again, here we are deactivated, and from here we are active again up to here, and here we are deactivated again, and here we go. Here we are the last one. Here we are deactivated, and here we are activated again. And as you can see, it's state 1, so he knows already, okay, hey, state 1, you told me before, I'm active. So now let's check that again. What's happening here now? Not a lot, because obviously we did not connect these values yet, right? So we just created our Boolean variable in our basically here Boolean variable, but now we basically have to connect this value to our buttons. So to do that, we simply, I think now we can go back to our logic view already, and we see a bit more, and let's check our bool here, right? So this is now the value which is animated from our keyframe animation, and as you can see, we hover over, right? So you can see it's really only activated when there is no movement anymore, right? This is exactly what we want. And last but not least, we simply have to connect basically our buttons to this Boolean value. As you can see, we don't have access yet outside of the container because we didn't expose that value yet. So let's do that. Let's go to our button next. Let's go to our touch button, and we say here we want to have that enabled outside. And let's also press and hold control and do the interfacing that we have exactly the same values or updates exposings in both of our buttons. Now I have both buttons here, and I simply say, okay, my enabled value is coming from here, and from the other button exactly the same, right? So, and now you can see if there's movement, the button is deactivated. Only if there is no movement, then I can go to the next and previous, right? So if I go so I can't basically create that error anymore, right? Okay, this problem is solved. Let's think about what we have to do next. I think the next step we have to do, we have to load a couple of movies, actually 10, and then we have to make the logic to tell our application, hey, I just want that this movie is running and this is not running, all the others not, and so on. I think you get what I mean. Let's try to do that next. Let's go here to our first movie. Okay, let's now think a bit about how we build a logic for our movie carousel, right? So, of course, for now, we have already, if we open this up, we have already access basically to all of our nodes, right? Or to our properties. So we can say, hey, the first one, I want to have load another one, or I want to delete it. But how to say, let's say maybe we want, you know, we are developers, and of course we know how to use these guys and how to work with the Ventuz designer. But if we want to build a template and we want to give this to a client, then we cannot expect that the client has to open the Ventuz designer, go through each of these nodes. Of course, we can give them different names, but no, we don't want to do that. We basically want to keep it as simple as possible. And we tell the client, hey, look, you simply copy 10 movies in a dimension of not more than 4K, or let's say an aspect ratio of 60 by 9 into a folder on your desktop, and that folder has to have the name movies, for example, right? And whatever movies he put there, these movies will then be loaded here automatically. Okay, so let's try to figure out how we could do that, right? So of course we have here our movie rect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One thing what I also quickly want to do, let's give them a bit some names that we can, yeah, it's more clear, it's just more straightforward, right? 3 and 4. This is actually depending how you do the development. Ventuz will do that automatically, but actually not if you have an axis in front. So it has to be a kind of a root node in that tree or subtree. But it's just 10, so it doesn't matter for now. If you have 100, it would matter. If you have 1,000, it would very much matter. Okay, so now we have here movie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10. And you can see Ventuz brought it now because I pressed and hold select, shift, brought it already here over to my left side. But you can see it's not in the right order. So also let's do that quickly. 9, 10, 8, and then we go here 7, and 2 is much more up here somewhere. 2, and let's see where we go. 5 is up, 7, 6. Let's bring that guys here up. So maybe now we can do it a bit more easy. So 6, 5, 4, and 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, this is now already a bit better. Now we have, yeah, it's kind of better organized. This is, yeah, something just, yeah, it is how it is. But you will get your head around. It's pretty simple. Okay. So let's see now, let's think now, what could we do? We have a node called directory. Let's use this node here and let's see what this node is doing. So for the inputs, for example, we have a path, we have a search pattern, we have a sync, async, blah, 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 auto update subfolders, and so on. Okay. So first thing what I want to do, I want to point this directory to a path, right? And this path I have to type in here now. So I know my path because I have now on my desktop basically I made yeah, a folder called movies, and I simply copy that path and bring it into here. Yeah, so here you can see now the path, see users, info, desktop, movies. So here we go. Okay, now let's see. Now we are here, and we tell now we can close the text editor here because the path is here inside already. Now we have our search pattern set to JPEG. Yeah, my movies in my folder, most of them are MP4s. Yeah, so let's change that quickly to star.mp4. And now you can see immediately we get here a count and we get here a result array. Okay, so this is cool because with this array, basically, we can build up now our connections to all of our movies, right? So what we have to do first, this is a string array, and what we basically have to do, we have to read out that string array that we have basically 10 or less yeah, movies, yeah, passed to a movie. And these movies we want to bind then to each of these guys, right? So let's try that. So let's use an array. And here we simply use an array and this, check this out. And we say, hey, we want to have a string array and we want to have elements of 10, right? So now we have here already a bit. It's actually not exactly what we want because here you can see as for the array we get inputs, but this is actually what I want to get as output, right? So let's see what else we have here under array. So we have array ease, we have array indexer, we have array mixer, array processing, and so on. Let's see what that array indexer is doing. Yeah, I actually do that just to show you. You don't have to be scared of yeah, of arrays. Yeah, even if you don't know what it is, maybe, or just try it, just use it, and this is really the cool thing. So if you see now that array indexer, this is already maybe more what we are looking for, right? Because here the input is an array. That's cool because our output here is an array, right? It's a string array. That's cool. And our string indexer, because we created a string array indexer, is also a string array. So now let's see what happens if we select or if we drag and drop this array from our string indexer over our directory and we bring it to the result array. And now you can see immediately we have now these 10 outputs, which leads us directly basically to, yeah, to the movies. That's basically already what we want to have, right? So we don't have to worry about the name. We don't have to worry about, yeah, basically where they are, because sure, we have to worry where they are, but you know, this is simple now because now we can tell the client, look, use this application and simply create a folder with the name movies and put up to 10 movies inside, and the movies will be loaded automatically. Okay, so let's do that now. So we know now we don't need that string array. We need the string indexer in this case. And now we simply say, okay, our movie number 1 should be here our value 0. Our movie number 2 should be value 1, and so on. This is 2, 4 is 3, 5 is 4. Of course, I think you got it right. 6 is 5. Oh, sorry, this was wrong. If you want to delete a binding, simply hover with the mouse over it, press the right mouse button, and then you can select all the bindings or single bindings or all of them. So again, our rect 6 wants to have 6 needs 5. Is that right? What I say? Yes, that looks good. And 7 needs 6. 8 needs 7. 9 needs 8. 10 needs 9. Right? So now we bound all the movies. And of course, because 1 needs 0 and so on, you know, because here in programming, mostly the first value, they start with 0. So that's why we have here 10 values starting from 0 to 9. And here we started basically from 1 to 10, right? So, but it's the same amount. You just have to be aware of that. So now you can see already, now we have here one movie is not loaded because this is basically our last movie. This is our movie number 10, or in that value 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Because here we don't have a movie, but I actually have 10 movies in my movie folder, right, on my desktop. But now let's see, we have MP4, 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 but here we have an MOV, right? So that's a QuickTime. So probably that's the problem. I'm actually not sure if this is working, but let's try it out. What happens if I tell now my search pattern, hey, looking for MP4s and also looking for star.mov? No, this won't work. Okay, so will it work if I press a comma? No, it won't work as well. Maybe we have another option. Maybe it's a semicolon. This work? No, this will not work. Okay, so then simply, oh, will that work? 9. Let me see. Something happened here now. We have more now. No, not really. Okay, so this is something I will figure out, and maybe we can figure that quickly out together. Because, I want to know, is there a way now maybe that I also not, and I want to be able to load MP4s and MOVs. Maybe this is now already, this was not planned, frankly speaking, but I started already. So let's put it through. Let's see where this will end. I hope somewhere good. Okay, let's see how we can find it out. So we can find it out if we simply press the F1 key. We select this node, press F1. And then we have access to the online manual. So I want to see detailed description. Let's see what we find here. What do they tell us here? Directory. Or files contained in a specific directory. Okay. Examples, data image JPEG. Okay. Okay, this sounds good so far. This is all good. Now let's see how we can do that. Or result array. Maybe. I'm not sure actually if we can add here more. Let's see what happens if I say okay. No, don't let me do that. Now we are at full screen. That's not what I want. Okay. This is working. Okay, but that other one not. Why is that? Okay, guys. Anyway, I will try to figure that out, and yeah, if it's important for you, then yeah, tell me in the comments. If not, maybe I'll let you know in the comments. Okay, let's say now, for the sake of this tutorial, the client only has MP4s, right? So we have 9 now. That's good. So let me put another one inside here quickly. Let me find quickly another one. Maybe not here. Where we go? Maybe somewhere here. These are the movies. And let's get a bit more movies. Just one more. News. What is that? That's not an MP4. Give me another MP4 somewhere. Whatever this is. No, this is the recording right now. This is not. This is good. Let's try to use. Let's use this one. Oh, it's not too large. Let's put it here. Okay, so now I put this movie already into my folder. And now let's see what's happening here. It's already in the folder, but you can see we still have here 9. But actually there are 10 now, right? So what we can do here, you can see we have here auto update, and we have a next and update node, update message, right? So you can use basically this auto update. If we do that, now we can see now we have 10 and the last movie is loaded. That was exactly the movie what I just put into my movie folder. And now we are already a step further, right? So here is not a movie for whatever reason. I think that's just not running right now. Okay, but we have already a kind of a cool logic, and yeah, that's already a bit of flexible. We have an interactivity. We can load movies in a folder on the desktop without opening the Ventuz designer, without do any coding. So this is already cool. So let's go into the next step, where we will then do logic to say, hey, only movie in front start from the beginning. All the other movies should not run. Okay, let's start to implement now the logic that only one movie is running at the same time. That saves us performance, of course. And it also helps, that to make sure that always the movie which comes into front starts from the beginning. We also will do that in the animation because that's the place where we know now, especially with this, let's call it a kind of small application, where we know on which position we are, right? So to do that, we simply go back to our animation view, and then we have our timeline down here. And now let's see how we do that. So we have now our movie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So let's bring them over here. That's good. And we also bring our animation here. So we select all the movies and all this main rotation axis. And what we are doing here, we clean that a bit up, that we have that not above each other. So, and what we do now let's think quickly. What do we need? We need the play. Nothing is happening, you remember, because the play starts to play from the point where the movie is right now. The movie is at the end, so it won't start at the beginning when we press play again. For this, we have that seek option. We go to seek first, then we press play, and then actually our movie should start to play. So let me check. Are we at movie 1? Yes, is this movie 1? This should be movie 1, right? So let's block that quickly. No, that's not movie 1. Where is our movie 1? We are at movie 3 right now. Sorry. So we are at movie 1 now, S1. Okay. And you also always can check where you are if you press Control B or simply block something with this button. Control B is the same, as you can see. And also every container basically has that blocked property, right? Except actually a container as, sorry, no, we have it here under state. So also that's all the same basically. Okay. So I mostly use the shortcut Control B, beta, to see where I am. So this is for sure now my movie rectangle 1. So now let's go there, and now let's see what happens if I press play. Nothing happens. Like mentioned before, we are at the end now. Pause, nothing happens. If I press seek, it jumps to the beginning. And if I press play now, then that movie starts to play, right? Okay. So what we basically need is, for now, that seek and the play, right? This is what we want to have. And let's do that. Let's bind them now. Again, let's select all of that movies because we have to do it the hard way. We really have to select, especially the way we are doing it here now. We have to select all the movie, and we have to animate each value from each of that movie containers. Okay, there are other ways, but for this tutorial, we are going the hard way because you should learn. Okay, so we have our movies here, and what we do simply now, we select all of them, and we said we want to have the play and the seek, right? So let's select all the movies, and then if they have all the same basically exposings, and they have, because they are containers, right? So with this we make sure. Then we select all the 10 movies, and we drag and drop that play property over our animation. And we do exactly the same with our, see if this is all good. Yeah, that's all good. And we select all again, and then we use the the seek, and we drag and drop them over our animation tool. And now you can see down here, we have now the connection to all of our movies. So now this is actually now the hard part. Not fun, but yeah, just let's do it. So when we are at movie 1, I want that movie 1 starts to play, right? That means when we are here, right? When we are here, then I actually want that something happens. So let's see what happens. I press now insert to create a keyframe. And now you can see I selected both of the pause and the seek. So let me delete that seek keyframe again. So what I want to make for sure, I want that this movie is starting to play here. Yeah? It doesn't matter if it comes from left or if it comes from my last state. So I want that movie start to play here. If we are going to here, maybe from here, somewhere at 5, I want that this movie gets resetted and back, right? Back to where it was. Then we go to our movie 2. At my movie 2, I select here my control play from movie 2. I say insert. And here I want that this movie starts to play. So now we probably see one thing. And that one thing is that probably movie 2 is actually not really our movie 2. That movie 2 is actually this one, right? So let's double check that. It's actually not movie 2, yeah, it's actually movie 2. But the state is maybe a different one. Because you remember, before we created our carousel, first we created this one, this rectangle, then the left, and so on. So we go clockwise, but actually right now we are counting counterclockwise, right? So let's fix this first. So to fix this, let's delete all these channels here by simply select them all here and delete. Yes. And again here, here, and here too. And we delete. Okay. And now let's see what's happening here. So now let's make sure that our movie 1 is really movie 1, that it's that it fits together with our animation basically, right? So this is movie 1, right? Okay, this is good. Now in our animation we are going to movie 2. Now let's see, is this movie 2? No, it's actually not, because it's actually this one, right? So how we do that the easy way? I think the easy way, we just simply rename this. Yeah, we just simply rename this guy here to 2, and then we know this one should be 3. This one is 4. This one is 5. 6 actually fits, but I just take off that 0 to make sure that we don't have double names. 6. This is 7. 8. 9. 10. And 1. So let's see if this is okay now. So let's see. So this is our movie 2. This is our movie 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Double check here. 7. This should be 8. Yeah. This should be 9. Yes. You can also see it here with the state. This should be 10. Exactly. And then we are back at 1. Right? Okay, so just ignore now that numbers here of the axis. It doesn't matter. Of course, if you want, we can change it. That's all okay. But for now, it doesn't matter if we have that numbers, because we only work now with the tracked one. Or we are basically with our containers, right? So let's bring all that guys back. And come on, and 3, 2, 1. And let's quickly try to reorganize them here. And we have here 9, 10, so 1, 9, 2, and 8, 7, 6, 5. Also here you don't need to do that, but I strongly recommend, because it just makes sense, it keeps a nice and clean overview, especially in larger projects. It makes totally sense to have things well organized. Sure, in larger projects sometimes you also don't care. And then it's just how it is. But yeah, if you do it and you're the developer, then you know how to manage. Okay, good. So this should work now. So again, now we start again with our bindings. So let's select all of our movie containers. Let's bring in our animation, and with our movies selected, we drag and drop first our play to our animation. You also can drop it here basically, if you don't have access like me right now here to the animation. Okay, there's one, and we want to have the seek. Is here, so we want to have that here too. So you see, it doesn't matter, it's the same. And Ventuz also pretty nicely organizes the channels where they belong based on the container name. Okay, again, let's do that. We go to movie 1, right? We are at movie 1 now. Double check it again. Yes, this is movie 1. Here I want that movie 1 is playing, right? So we simply select Control Play and insert here, insert here a keyframe. So now movie 1 is playing, and I want actually that movie 1 stops here, right? So now it stops. Come to the next one, and here I want that movie. Now you see, I have to be carefully. Actually, I should do that in a different way, frankly speaking, because you see now we have here the other way around. So I messed that really a bit up, but really better if we just do that. We can also do that here, movie 2, movie 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, that should work better now. So again, movie 1 is okay. We have here our keyframes. That's good. Let's go to movie 2. Movie 2 should start, let's say movie 2 should start here, right? So I make keyframe here. Oh, that's good. And movie 2 should stop here, right? Okay, let's do that here too. By the way, come on, let's do it directly because that saves us time. So movie 1 is this one, right? So should start now, and should stop here, right? Okay, that's good. And this one should stop now and should stop here. So let's bring that actually here exactly over that, because here we know should start, but it also should stop if we go over here, right? If we go to the other direction, because it could be the client says, hey, I want to go back to the last one. Then you also want that the second movie is stopping, right? So let's use that seek here again too. And this is basically now what we have to do with all of our guys. So this is good. Now with movie 3, let's open that. Let's select play. The play we want to have exactly at that time, and we want to have it stop left side, and we want to have to stop it right side. So that doesn't matter if we go to previous or next. Now the movie starts, and now it stops. Now it starts, now it stops. That's good. Okay, 3 is done. Let's go to 4. 4 I want to play exactly here, and I want to have it stopping here and seeking here. So when I say seek, I actually mean stop, right? Stop and reset. That's that seek. So here I want to have the seek. Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Here I press the seek, and here I want the seek, and here on the keyframe exactly I want to have the play. And we are half through, so be patient. All good, all good. It's at the beginning a bit a hassle, I know, but if you will learn other ways to make that more quick. But like I say, it's really good to know all the ways, also the hard ways, not just the easy way. And here we go, where we are now. Oh, we closed it already. Come on, come on. Let's keep that open. Here we go. 6 is good. Now we go to 7. 7, we want to play here, and we want to have the seek here, and we want to have the seek here. And this is good. And 8, we want to have the play here. Boom. And we want to have the seek here and here. And 9, you want to have the play on the keyframe, and we want to have our seek previous and next. And last but not least, not exactly, because we have one more. Here I want to have the play, and I want to have the seek here, and I want to have the seek here. And here we are going back. That means here we actually have already that play. But it could also be that we go back from here. Then you also want that movie 1 is basically stopping, right? So that means we also need that seek over here. From here we are, movie 1. So this is, because you see, this is our state 1, right? So let's go here and insert movie 1, the seek, because if we go back and if we go here, you see it starts to play. If we go right side, it stops. If we go left, it stops too. Okay, let's see if that works. So let's open up that, guys, quickly, just that you can see what we've done. What a bit. Exactly. So as you can see now, we have here nicely our keyframes, right? And exactly. So that should actually work. So let's go to movie 2. That one stops, this one starts, that one stops, this one starts. Okay, and so on. And let's go the way back. Stop, start, stop, start. Cool. It seems we also implemented the logic for play and restart or pause for our movies. Okay, I think last but not least for this tutorial, we will adjust a bit of our interface, right, the player. So first thing, I think this is a bit too small probably. So what I will do first, I go here to my main rotation axis, I bring that guy a bit more up, and I think we also can scale it a bit more up, right? Because why not? Because we have time and we have space. Time, sometimes not that much. Maybe even like that, right? Okay. Yeah, why not? Let's see how that looks like. Yeah. So some movies seems not running, but this is just because they are slow motion and sometimes very, very little movement in that movies. But as you can see, it seems really, it works 100%. Okay, what else could we do? Maybe let's put a quick little nice backdrop. That backdrop actually I would do here now with in another layer, right? So let's also create another layer, maybe just a simple gradient layer, right? So now this layer is lying over my 3D layer, so I just moved that up here, and now that gradient layer is lying behind my my second layer, my 3D layer, where we build all that player stuff, right? Maybe we can change the colors a bit. Maybe we want to have a kind of a bluish to a something like that. Why not? Let's keep it like that. Exactly. Then what else could we do? What else could we do? I think we have one issue here, and that one issue is, I mean, we have still that affection by light in this movie, right? And maybe we also want that the movies are running maybe in a loop, right? If somebody don't stop them, then maybe we also want to run them in a loop. So let's see what we can do. So let's go back to our 3D layer where we build our player. And here we say now, here we say first, let's say the background we have. Then let's say we go to our movies, right? Let's reset it quickly. So this is also something what we maybe should do, that reset. During development, I mostly use just a keyboard key, Windows key, and this Windows key I put to R for reset, and I bind this to everything I need. If mostly you will have a lot more than one animation in your projects. In that case, I just have one, so I put it to 1. If I press R, that should actually go back now to our begin default state, right? So let's do that. Yes, and you see the animation is jumping back. That's okay. And the movie starts to play. That's actually exactly what I want. So what we have here now, you know, our material, as you probably know from other tutorials, the difference between materials and solid colors, for example. You know, materials are affected by light and a solid color actually not. So what happens here now is that you can see we have here that shine, right? So this is actually not a real color of that movie, but I think for a movie player you actually want to have that real color. So to change that, we go to our movie player number 1. Yeah, as you can see, we go here in our first container movie rect 1, And inside here, we can change now our lightning model, especially here for that rectangle, right? That rectangle which basically holds, or the texture which actually holds our movie, right? So if I go here and I say change lightning model, then I can say no light. And now you can see this is now much more clear. Yeah, this is now the real color of that movie. Also here, but as you remember, we don't have to do it now one by one because we have interface containers. So again here, select the first one and move it down and down and down and down, right? And also this one and 7 and 6 and 5 and 4, 3. Is that interfacing we destroyed absolutely nothing. Yeah, we just updated that one change what we did inside this first container, yeah, where we actually only changed the setting in the material to no light, and all the outside settings, you know, the bindings, everything what we have, the animations what we did, they're still working. Yeah, so this is really a powerful feature, that interfacing with containers inside Ventuz. So like promised at the beginning, I want to focus also a bit about how you can implement or how you can use OptiTUIO to control Ventuz applications basically. So what I will do next is I will show you quickly how easy actually it is to integrate OptiTUIO with Ventuz. So quickly, my setup here is very simple. I have here our OptiTUIO OT800 bundle. This is basically the OT800 sensor. With that sensor, you can create up to 8-meter wide screens. Okay, so you can mount that sensor below your screen. You can mount it actually wherever you want. Most of the setups working like that you have your screen somewhere here, your large screen, and then you basically mount the sensor above the top edge of your screen, right? Because then it's just out of the way and it's safe and nobody see it, nobody can hit it, kick it, right? These sensors, most of our OptiTUIO sensors are connected via network. So here you basically get if you get a bundle from us, you get a plug and play bundle with the power supply, with all the adapters, with the cables. And then basically you connect the 12-volt power supply and you connect the network to your computer or to your switch, to your network basically. So I will quickly go through the basic setup. So I will not basically map this sensor now directly to my screen, which I use here for this tutorial. I basically will put it somewhere here just beside on my table, right? And I will create basically an invisible small interactive area of whatever, half meter by 20 centimeter or 30 centimeter, something like that. And in this area, I can then basically control and capture all my touch inputs inside Ventuz. Okay, let's do that. So the first thing what I do is let's open OptiTUIO. And OptiTUIO is right away here. So here we have OptiTUIO. We have basically two applications. It's the calibration application with the user interface, and we have the OptiTUIO server. So let's open up that OptiTUIO calibration. And let's also bring myself here a bit out of the way. Okay. So now you can see here OptiTUIO already. So this is basically the calibration interface of OptiTUIO. What we have to do first here, let's also make Ventuz smaller, better. First thing you have to do, it's pretty simple. I always say we have 3 simple steps. First, you have to connect your sensor. So we just connect this OT800, that's at Kali LS. I changed the default IP address because here in this studio we have a bit of a different network. And if everything is correct, so if make sure the computers or the devices can see each other, so it's basically simple networking. Okay, so make sure the computer who is running OptiTUIO and your sensor, they are in the same network. That's important. Like I say, basic networking. And then you press start, and if everything is set up correctly, then you can see immediately the scan outline basically the full scan of that sensor. So if I take that sensor now, right, and I move it a bit around like this or like this. So what this sensor is showing me now is basically a 2D cut of the studio where I'm sitting in, right? So if I move it like that, if I move it like that, if I rotate it like that, so this one here is basically our ceiling, okay? And somewhere over here, exactly over there, there is yeah, my wall, and somewhere far on the other side, yeah, somewhere over there into that direction, so over here, there is our, yeah, the other wall of the studio basically. So that studio is about 4 meters high, and it's about 8 meters long, so it's not a large one. Exactly. And of course all that other things what you can see here now, for example, this area right here now, right, this black area, this is basically this is here a large lamp, a large light. So if I move it maybe a bit more back, now you can see, now we are going there into the studio, right? Exactly. So, but like I said, I put it here, and if I put my hands inside now, right, or one of my hand, my arm, or two, then you can see already OptiTUIO is recognizing my two arms, my two hands, or even just a finger, right? So what I do now in that area, let's move that a bit over here, that it's a bit more clear and close. So what I want to do, I will create an area somewhere in, yeah, somewhere here, I will create an interactive area basically. So again, 3 steps. First step I showed you, this is now simply connect and start the sensor. The second step, create a screen. Here you have 2 options. You can create a rectangular screen or elliptical screen, but in that case, I simply create a rectangular screen with, let's say, 35 centimeter by 20 centimeters, something like that. Let's zoom in here and let's see if this is okay. Yeah, this is not bad. A small area. Of course, OptiTUIO is actually made for large screens, yeah, not for super small screens, what I'm doing here right now. But this is really just to show you, yeah, in combination, or how easy it is to integrate it into Ventuz, to get the interactive events into Ventuz. So I offset a bit into the Y. And now let's see. So this is my top, this is my bottom. I can offset it a bit more to the Y. Maybe like that. So let's see. So this, of course, represents our sensor. And this one is now our interactive screen. So top, bottom, left, right. Okay, that's good. So third step, you have to, or let's say 2.5 step. Once you create your screen, you have to assign that screen quickly to your device. Just that one click. And now we should get already that red touch points. And these red touch points are already representing, hey, OptiTUIO recognized successfully a touch point. Yeah. So even 2 or 3 or more. I just have 2 hands now. So and like I say, yeah, you can see it's a little bit noisy here because we are pretty close to that sensor. But like I say, normally we say should be 20, 30 centimeters away from the sensor, and then everything gets super smooth and easy. So maybe we can do that. Let's move that a bit up more. And now we have it here. Yeah, now you can see already, now it's more smooth. Okay. So, okay. So third step, what you have to do, you have to add an output. And in this case, I will use the TUIO output because Ventuz works perfectly with TUIO. And that's pretty cool. So, and from now on, basically, we are already ready to recognize these TUIO events in Ventuz. So let's check that out. Let's open up our Ventuz designer again, and let's maximize it. Let's also bring here OptiTUIO, get a bit smaller, and let's bring it here. Exactly, so that looks good. And now let's see what happens. To test if you really get an input, I suggest there is a diagnostic tool, and this is here, that input diagnostics. So if you turn that on and you touch inside OptiTUIO, you can see now we get already that yeah, visual debug of our sensor, of the TUIO signals, right? So again, here's OptiTUIO running. Okay, let's zoom in a bit, and now I touch inside, and now you can see already in our render window, right? We get here our representation of of that one touch point. If I touch with 2 fingers, now we have 2. So one thing, what is wrong, because it's mirrored over the x-axis. So just let's flip that quickly, and now it should work. So now I'm top, bottom, right, and left, exactly. And now you can see if I hover over my previous, if I hover over my next, so it's working like expected, without any, you see, without any setups, configurations inside Ventuz. So by default, I really suggest, if you use Touch Designer or Ventuz or any other interactive softwares who supports TUIO, use TUIO, because TUIO is super flexible. You can send the touch events over network. That means you also, you can run OptiTUIO on a dedicated little machine, and you can run then and send all that touch events from OptiTUIO to multiple machines, right? So right now we just send it to our local host, 127.0.0.1. But of course, you also can change that, and you send all the TUIO signals to your network. When you have 10, 20, 100 computers, and you have a cluster set up, then you also can do that with TUIO. Of course, you also can add multiple outputs and can send it to multiple machines with different TUIO ports. By default, the TUIO port is 3333. Exactly, that's basically how that works. Okay, so what we have now, we can now basically control. Let's make that a little bit larger. Let's get in full screen. And now let's see. Now here is my finger, right? It's a super small interactive area what I made here, but you can see if I hover over the touch button with OptiTUIO, boom, boom, then you can interact already with that guy. Of course, normally, like I say, this will run on an LED wall on a large screen. Then you would make the calibration for OptiTUIO directly, that it fits perfectly with your screen, right? Not like me now, where I just have that sensor somewhere standing in the somewhere, right? But of course, this will also work. So another cool thing. Sure, you don't want to have this ugly diagnostic points here, right? That input diagnostic. You actually want to have maybe some other feedback. And for this, Ventuz already has a super cool node called the ripple node. And to do that, I just create one on top layer. Because if I create that ripple node now here inside, you remember we took out our rectangle from the center. And if I take now my ripple node or graphics, let's say graphics somewhere inside this container, let me show you quickly. So let's say I add here now an axis, and I add here something like a circle. And now you can see, actually you cannot see that circle because it's in the center, right? It's in the center. And you remember we took out that rectangles to have that nice carousel or rondel. So, but if I move now my circle to the left, right? So you can see left or right, then you can see it's basically in the center, right? So we also can maybe visualize that a bit more. If we move around here with that camera, now you can see our 0 position is basically here in the center of our rondel. Okay, so, and that's the reason why I don't put that visual feedback, which I actually want from my TUIO touch point or touch points. I want to have that, but not in this layer. I just create another layer. Let's create another 3D layer, standard, and let's call it touch OptiTUIO. And I go inside here, and here I simply use that ripple. And let's put that ripple node. And now you can see, now with that ripple node, we can create up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visualizers basically. And now you can see this is now that visualizer. If you go to, if you select one of that ripple nodes, right, then you can change here the color, for example, to red. And now you can see, and now that ripple node is red. And this gives now a little bit more nice representation of, basically of our touch inputs, right? Okay, so this is the simple way how you can use OptiTUIO to control a Ventuz application. And of course, it works exactly the same like with the mouse, if you hover over with the mouse, except you don't have the buttons on OptiTUIO, right? So that's why I told you before, that's why we actually working with, let's go here, where we actually did not work with that single tab, right? With this button here. So that's actually why we used here our touch enter, yeah? And if we check that, so in which button we are right now, we are in the next button, so that's this one, right? So let's select it and let's check here our outputs. So of course, if I go over with the mouse, touch enter happens. And let's do the same now with our OptiTUIO touch. So we go down here and you see exactly the same events will get fired. And that's exactly what we want, right? Okay, guys, I just checked the time and I think we are already close to 1.5 hours or so. I think that was exactly what I want to show you. I hope this helps some of you. I will do a couple of other tutorials very soon and see you then. Until then, bye-bye.